Okay, so our project was to design and build a machine that monitors the water level in a tank. And when the water level in the tank gets below 50% of the volume, we would send an email to someone's email, and it'll tell us when it's 50%. So our water bottle is 500 milliliters, and it is 500 grams, right? And when it gets less than 250, it would send the email, basically. And so we basically built a scale. Well, tried to build a scale. So yeah, that's what we were supposed to do.
Show them our code.
Huh?
We can show them our code.
Oh yeah,
Do you want me
and
to show
we
that
also did.
for
Building.
building?
Yeah. Okay.
Alright,
Is that you?
Yeah, it's
No.
you. Oh, it's.
So for construction, what we did was, how do you flip it?
It's not Snapchat.
Oh, fuck. So what we did for construction is there is a load cell in between these two planks of wood, and it will read the pressure in between that hole in the middle of the load cell, sending that data to this MK chip. And that data will go to the Raspberry Pi, and the Raspberry Pi should have the code that will send an email, which is right here. Yet, when we try to activate the Raspberry Pi, we get this, in which is a error telling us that there's a corruption in the boot up program of the Raspberry Pi, and since I don't know Python, I don't know how to fix that. And something else that we had to figure out how to do was how to solder wires together, and that was fun. So our plan for how to measure the tank of water was just a water bottle, and we would have cut it in half and taken a straw and sipped out water until we would reach an email sent to us right here. And then we can send an email. So an email was sent, and then we can go over to our Gmail and reload. And here is an email saying the water level is below 50%.
Okay, so the problems we ran into was first was the Raspberry Pi malfunction with the files being corrupt because we didn't know Python. We didn't know like the process of getting it to work. And so the coding in Python is our next issue that we ran into. It's just our MATLAB skills did not transfer to Python. We also had a trouble with finding a monitor, which we solved, but that was one of our problems. And we also had issues with learning how to solder, which is another issue that we solved. Yes. And we can do that.
Okay, so I'm going to be explaining the solutions to our issues. And so one of the issues was not knowing how to code with Python. And so MATLAB wasn't very helpful for that. And then another issue we ran into was not having a monitor at first, but then realized we were provided with a monitor in the library that we were able to use for the Raspberry Pi. And then we also used Ben's dad to learn how to, how do you pronounce it? Solder. So Ben, you had to solder some of the wires. And then for this one, like, what do we mean by the code?
Our code actually worked, like it.
Oh, for the email. And then in order to send an email when the water level got below 50%, we figured out how to do the coding, and it actually worked. So yeah.
Okay. And then I'll be explaining the issues that we weren't able to solve. So as you can see, we had most of our pieces. We just weren't able to put everything together. We had our code, it worked, it sent the email. We were able to build the scale. So the middle issue was mostly the Raspberry Pi, which it had a malfunction in the software, so we weren't able to fix that or anything. And we weren't able to connect the scale to our code, which would have made everything work.
And that would have worked via the Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, so the main issue was our Raspberry Pi, which we really didn't know how it worked or what to do with it exactly. So, but we tried our best. We all did.
Yeah.
So, there you go.